And this is Kilo Charlie 9, Victor Kilo Victor, and it's time for the Friday afternoon Qso-Vlog network. If you've got a radio, you're interested in hearing the audio, we are recording now live till 5, and later on we'll post it up on YouTube, and you go to YouTube and do a call letter search for Kilo Charlie 9, Victor Kilo Victor, and we will have it posted in the next couple of days. Also, if you have a radio, you want to check out the audio, we offer a tune-up service for the modulation, and so that's our specialities. So we'll be now live till 5 on KC9VKV's Qso-Vlog, and we're now listening for Charlie up around the Canadian border to open up our show. Perhaps, Charlie, you got a copy? And I'm not copying Charlie this morning, this afternoon. I think he said he might not be with us for this afternoon's Friday show, but we thought we would check anyway. So anyway, we are live till 5 for recording. If you have a radio you want to check out, give us a shout. KC9VKV. And also of note, we are running 4 SDR remote receivers this afternoon. We're running Rochester, New York, Raleigh, North Carolina, Milford, PA, and Alexandria, Virginia SDRs. So, hopefully we can get a little bit better signal for our 100-watt friends when they try to check in. Sometimes 40 meters is not very gracious for 100-watt radios at about 400 miles. A lot of times they'll be coming in at about a 2 over the noise level, which is pretty noisy. So we do try to reach out through our SDRs and get a little bit better copy for our recording. This is KC9VKV.
Okay, Jim, I found the copy of the frequency. KC9VKV, if you can hear it, because it's loaded people.
Roger, Charlie. There is quite a bit of traffic. I was getting quite a bit of blow-by that transmission. We are checking out our 10-foot loop antenna, our 10-foot magnetic loop antenna. It's funny how when you're in a corner trying to get things done and you're running behind times, there's about 5 things that will fail simultaneously in addition to the project that you're trying to get done, and that's exactly what happened with our loop. The rotors started to not want to stay in sync. We have a rotor down at the bottom of our 10-foot mag loop, and it started not wanting to stay in sync, so we had to devote a little time and effort into that, and finally we just Armstrong the loop around to point towards you, Charlie, and I just made a flip from my local inverted V dipole to the mag loop, and it seemed to be about 5 dB hotter. I think that that loop starts to come into play at about 600 miles. It's not too much advantageous, less than that, but it does start to become effective at about 600 miles plus. It seems to me in my just the time that I've had to check it out. We used a 1-inch HELIAXE, a 10-foot diameter, 32.5 feet circumference, and it, like I say, it gave me just a moment ago, it gave me about 4 dB hotter signal, between 4 and 5 dB hotter signal on your signal versus my dipole. Roger, Roger.
Roger. Okay, are you on that loop right now? Go ahead.
No, I'm be transmitting on my regular antenna. I'll be transmitting on my regular dipole antenna. I haven't come up with a VariCap to make the loop work. We did design the loop for a kilowatt, but we've got to get that that special VariCap that will allow us to run a kilowatt. Roger?
Roger. Okay, understand. I'm sure I can hear you. You're about 9% over. You're about 9% over. I do have Ian. I recorded VK3 Mike Oscar this morning right here. Well, I was on 7150, and we had, in fact, who's on frequency at the moment, WA30 with us, and also Charlie, KN4GBZ down in Florida. I'd like to put this on, and you could record it. I do have Ian's permission down there in north and west of Melbourne, Australia, and I'll play that recording here. Go ahead.
Roger. The last part of your transmission, I was running the loop. And I checked the loop out against my regular dipole, and it's still 4 to 5 dB hotter. So are you going to play this piece, Roger?
Okay, if you have good reception, I'll play it right now. Go ahead.
Roger, let's see. Let's try. Yeah, go ahead now. Go ahead.
Okay, this is K1VZL, and then also I have a comment. I had the microphone connected into the cassette following. So here is Ian this morning on 40 meters in Australia. Here he is.
Bravo Zulu, 8 kilo 03 Mike Oscar steady.
Okay, here we go.
K1 VZL, and 8 kilo 03 Mike Oscar Newell.
And it's a remarkable event that she went solo all the way around the world from Vancouver, British Columbia, all the way around the world, and did this in 9 months solo. And that is the first time, I understand, as far as I understand, that a lady had done this. And that she is the oldest person ever to go solo in a sailboat all the way around the world. And Ian, who you just heard on the tape here, did a remarkable job of talking to her very frequently, as have many of the amateurs, and I myself have worked through several times on her journey. This is Charlie K1VZL. But the voice problem there at the moment, talking into the cassette recorder with this other microphone. Okay, did you copy that, Jim? It was a little bit longer than I thought it was. KC9VKV, K1VZL, that was quite a trip.
Roger, Charlie. Unfortunately, the intelligibility was not as good as could have been. We had a low spot in the conditions, and it seemed like the audio was low. It was kind of peaky. It would hit 0, but a lot of it was under, by quite a bit. I did record it. I'll review it. I may have to chop it, though, because it did seem to be large parts of time. It was unintelligible, Roger, unfortunately.
Yeah, are you listening through an SDR or direct? Go ahead.
Right now, I'm on the loop antenna. It's about 6 dB hotter than my local, and I'm not really getting any good signals on my SDRs, unfortunately.
No. Okay. Well, you would. I was hoping you would. Is on Mike, or are you on in Pittsburgh?
Interesting about the loop, I've messed around with loops. I have a 22 loop that's made out of 5/8 copper. Just wondering how big of a vacuum variable do you need? How big of one? I have one that I pulled from my first original loop, and it's sitting in the drawer. So let me know what you need, and maybe we can maybe we can get that to you. Over.
Roger, Roger. Well, like I say, I'm transmitting now on my regular dipole. As near as I can figure, this is a 1-inch HELIAXE, 10-foot diameter. 1-inch HELIAXE, 10-foot loop. Roger.
Yeah, Roger. Well, you can do the calculations. There's a calculator online that'll tell you the approximate cap voltage, the approximate kilovolt of cap, and what you'll need in picofarad. So if you get a chance, calculate that out and see where you're at. I may have a vacuum variable that'll hold back a kilowatt. I run mine at about a kilowatt at home, and you can look on my webpage. I think it's on there. On QRZ, but I'm hearing you well, I'm hearing Charlie well. I am remote in Pittsburgh right now, but I'm sitting in Weirton talking through the internet and talking through my IC7300 at home with an LD MOS amplifier and a vertical antenna. KC9VKV in the group, Whiskey Alpha 3 Oscar remote.
Roger, great signal, great signal. Now, what's the size of your loop?
My loop is, I believe it's 22 feet of 5/8 copper. 22 feet of 5/8 copper is what mine is, and I have a vacuum variable that is motor driven. To tune it because they are so narrow. They are so very narrow, maybe only 5 or 10 kc, well, probably about 10 kcs on 40. 10 kcs, maybe 15 kcs if you're lucky on 40. I'm sure you realize that with yours. But they're very, very tight. I have 1-inch HELIAXE in my basement to make another one, to make another loop like you did, but I have not done that yet. But mine is 5/8, copper in a circle. Over.
Roger. Near as I can figure, I think we're going to be somewhere in the neighborhood of 20 kVA.
Yeah, probably. Do you know the picofarad? Like I said, I have. And max gain systems. Look up max gain systems. They sell fiberglass, but they also sell reasonable vacuum variables. They're poles. They're used, but I bought two of them from Max Gain Systems. Both of them each were under $100, and you'd be able to probably find them what you need. But there's a calculator online if you put in the diameter that you have and the the size of the loop conductor and all that, you can figure out closely what you need in picofarad. Over.
Roger. I was just shifting that last few seconds between my the loop and my dipole, and you were a good 5 to 6 dB hotter on the loop, Roger.
Yeah, I've noticed that as well. I've worked Ian a lot, and there are times with my dipole and the loop we're very, very close. Which, for a close, very small, say, apartment-type antenna, that's amazing. That's amazing with the loop antenna. And it was much, much quieter, but very narrow, very narrow. So it also keeps RFI and second harmonic and everything down because they're just so narrow. Maybe 15 kcs on 40. So KC9VKV, Whiskey Alpha 3 Oscar remote.
Roger, Roger. This loop is only about 3 feet off the ground. There's about 18 inches, and then there's the rotor, and then there's about 8 inches to a foot, and there's the loop. So it's a very low loop, but it's amazing the signal strength that it works. And I got it figured that it is one of those longer conditions kind of antenna. I was copying a Canadian net the other night that the audio was 7 dB hotter than my dipole, and it also was 2 dB less noise than my dipole, or 3 dB less noise than my dipole. So there was a 10 dB signal strength difference between the loop and the dipole. Roger.
Roger. Well, when you start getting loops to be bigger, when they're bigger, you start losing your nulls. You start losing your center nulls, although they're still there. the best thing about a loop is you don't have to have them high. You can have them very, very close to the ground, and the ground doesn't seem to affect them that much. Charlie and Jim, have a great day. I'm going to run. It's dinner time here, and I got to run and do that. So best of 73. It's good talking to you. Good luck with the loop. If you find out what size loop, what size picofarad cap, let me know. I have one. I think it's 150 peak max. I think it's 150 peak max, the one that I have in a drawer. So KC9VKV, I think it's 20 or 30 kV. I forget which. I think it's pretty high. 73, Whiskey Alpha 3 Oscar remote. Talk to you guys later.
Roger, Roger. Thank you, and I will be checking that out and getting back with you. As near as I can figure, there's not much C involved there. I am using a multi-gang, wide-spaced plate tune kind of capacitor, and this has got 3 different sections. Tunes is one, but there's 3 sections, and I've got it on the only about 3 blades. It's only running about 3 blades on the section that I'm using, so it's really light capacitance. Although I don't check it out. And Charlie, let's see how you're doing up there in towards Canada. Go ahead.
Yeah, okay, Jim, fine. You're running a 7 to 10 over, QSB, and Mike, oh my God, you're 25, almost 30 over. You're about on good days. On good days. Here's a couple seconds of you, Mike.
5/8 copper. Just wondering how big of a vacuum variable do you need? How big of one? I have one that I pulled from my first original loop, and it's sitting in the drawer. So.
Okay, and that's how Mike is coming in here. So terrific. Now, if you've got good enough copy, Jim, I could play a little bit of that tape that Ian gave about Jen and her sailboat ride around the world. But if it's not any better than it was, we'll have to skip it. I think there's probably too much absorption between us. That's quite a long haul. That's quite a long haul into southwest Indiana from up here near the Maine, Quebec, northeast Vermont border, Jim, but I'll leave it up to you. And 73 Mike, catch on hopefully tomorrow morning. Hopefully, yeah. KC9VKV, K1GZL.
Roger, Charlie, I'm looking at you on the loop, and you're 10 over. You're 10 over my noise level. If you wanted to try to play a little piece of that, if you have a way of turning it up a tad, give me a little more level if you have a way to do that. Roger, Roger.
Okay, let me back up this tape here. Okay, I'll give it a little bit more audio. Here we go, I hope.
South America across the bottom of South Africa and the bottom of New Zealand, and then back up to British Columbia. A very brave person, Johnny. Did you get that okay? K1GZL, VK3MO, Vel, Victor Kilo 3, flying to Austin in Melbourne, returning.
And radio call letters were VE0JS, VE0 Japan Sierra, and she had just turned 78 years of age. 78 years of age, I think, probably in August of course, of 2019. And it's a remarkable event that she went solo all the way around the world, Vancouver, British Columbia, all the way around the world. Incredible. Did this in 9 months solo, and that is the first time, I understand, as far as I understand, that a lady has done this, and that she is the oldest person ever to go solo in a sailboat. Did you copy that? KC9VKV, K1GZL.
Roger, still, some parts were not decipherable, unfortunately. I think it has to do maybe a little bit with the accent and, the conditions also, unfortunately. But, gosh, Charlie, if you could, if we could figure out a way to get the file, I could include it, in the Qso-Vlog, somehow, because I would like to do it, but I don't think we have good enough conditions to withstand the transmission cipher. Roger.
Okay, well, that's amazing because you're very strong now. You're a 10-15 over. Very good. It's not reciprocal, but I realized pretty well in front of my three-element diamond-shaped wire quad, and you're receiving me on a loop, a small loop antenna, and it's just too far away for this time of the day, Jim. If this were another hour or two later, maybe 2 hours later, it probably would be much, much stronger. Go ahead.
Oh, Roger that. Yeah, it is always a situation that's hard to take a transmission and then repeat it over the air again. It's just, it doesn't usually work out real well, as far as intelligibility does suffer, Roger.
Well, it takes a bit of time to get used to the Aussie accent. To get used to the Aussie accent. If you're not used to it, then it becomes hard to understand no matter what the conditions are. Go ahead.
Oh, that's a Roger. That is a Roger. Yeah, we'll figure out a way to get it in there one way or the other, Roger.
Okay. Maybe next week we'll have a little better conditions. Last week I did hear your pickup last Friday on the 23rd. That was terrific. That worked out fantastic. I think the best you've ever recorded me, but today it's not as good. Go ahead.
Roger. Well, usually the SDRs are much better than they are today. You're probably about maybe 5 dB over Raleigh's, Rochester's SDR noise level, and about the same on Milford. So I'm not sure what's happening, but today is I don't know, not a good day, I guess.
Okay. How does my audio sound when I use the microphone at the end of this? That was a microphone into the cassette. On the last part of it. Does that sound clear?
Yes. I think, but like I say, the loop, when it does fade, it doesn't fade to static, it's just kind of the noise level. A soft white noise seems to come up a little bit. And from time to time, we would slip from a 10 over to a 5 over, and so then the audio would be many times in the noise, Roger.
Yeah, I can understand that. One thing I have here is with the coaxial switch, I can go back and forth between the cloud warmer, my 3 elements firing straight up, and the quad bing bang, just like that. So I'm seeing quite a difference today on your signal, and a big difference on Mike. I suspect there is some sporadic E clouds in here because I was seeing a terrific difference in favor of the quad over the cloud warmer on Mike's signal. Okay, Jim, look, I'll sign, and if you're listening there, Mike, I'll catch you tomorrow morning. You might let me know, Mike, how is the quality on my voice on the tape recorder as against direct? And did Ian come through clear for you? Go ahead.
It seemed like there was a little bit of background noise that was making it difficult, like Jim said. It seemed like there was almost like fan noise with it. So it made it a little bit more, brought up the background, and it was difficult to discern then. Over.
Okay. Yeah. Well, we'll just see what we can do. Okay, I'll say 7-3. Well, let's hope Charlie doesn't get blasted with that hurricane down there in at his place in western Florida. So I'll say 73 to you, Jim. 73, Mike, and we'll try to get on next. There goes my voice. Next Friday. KC9VKV, K1 GZL.
Roger, Charlie. And that last, you were 15 over on my loop. So I wish we'd have had that condition when you were, trying to transfer the audio. But anyway, we'll say 3s, Charlie, and you have a good weekend up that way. And Mike, you guys have a good weekend too. And this is KC9VKV, we'll say 3s. And this is the Qso-Vlog network from now until 5. If you've got a radio, you want to check out the audio, we are recording now live till 5. And then we post it up on YouTube in the next couple of days. And you can go to YouTube and do a call letter search for Kilo Charlie 9 Victor Kilo Victor. That will take you to our Qso-Vlog page, and you'll be looking for Qso entitled My Group Aircheck 83019. My Group Aircheck 83019. And right now we're standing at about 700 Qso-Vlogs on file. But, usually YouTube will put the latest on page 1. So hopefully when you go to YouTube and do that call letter search for Kilo Charlie 9 Victor Kilo Victor, you'll find that My Group Aircheck 83019 on page 1. If not on page 1, it'll be on page 2. But hopefully it'll be on page 1. This is KC9VKV.
Yeah, 73.
KC9VKV, Alpha Charlie 4 Kilo Whiskey.
Alpha Charlie 4 Kilo Whiskey. Stand by just a moment. I have neglected to have my log in front of me. I'll be right back.
Roger.
Now you have just seen a grown man get up from the chair on camera and go get the log. Unfortunately, as I went to get the log, I dumped over a can of Coke on the other computer desk, and I had to take a few moments to try to eddy current the Coke debris onto the floor off of the table. So anyway, as I was saying, come back with that call sign again.
Kilo Charlie 9 Victor Charlie Victor Alpha Charlie 4 Kilo Whiskey, and I do apologize if that was any fault of my own that you spilled your drink. Over.
Oh, absolutely not. It's my neglect. I was running behind the 8 ball. I usually try to start getting things together about 2 o'clock. And at 2 o'clock, I was out trying to get my rotor on my loop working. And so I did get a late start, and I knew better, and just couldn't. I wanted to loop the rotor on the loop so I could move it around a little bit, but I did have to Armstrong it towards Charlie's direction just to check it out. We've been working about 2 days in the rain. Oh, it's a long tale of woe, but that loop is just amazing. It's a 10-foot loop made out of 1-inch HELIAXE. And it's just a thing to behold there, and it's on the rotor. It really has to have a rotor because it does have lobes, and you have to get those lobes kind of in positions that help out. Anyway, so what radio are you running, sir?
I'm currently on a non-200 Delta with a RE20 microphone, and just hooked up yesterday. I received in the mail Yamaha MG10XU. I'm using as my conversion from XLR to USB to go through the computer to go into the non-200 Delta. The antenna system is just a fan dipole, 20, 40, and 80 meters on the fan dipole. The amplifier is an ACOM 2000 Now I'm doing about 1,200 watts currently from Charleston, South Carolina. Over.
Roger, you're about 15 to 17 over on my loop antenna, and I noticed that your audio is rather unprocessed. If you would like to fatten that up, I've got the formula for you if you would be interested.
Oh, absolutely. Anything that will help me out, I would definitely appreciate it. That's what we strive for. Over.
Alrighty, I would start by engaging your compressor at about a 3 out of 10. I would insert your compressor and set it up for a 3 out of 10. Roger?
Yeah, QSL on the outboard, or would you do it on the software on the non-power SDR?
What do you have on the outboard?
I have a Yamaha MG10XU.
I would do it on the internal, and just set it on a 3. I guess you have a ratio of 1 to 10 on that compressor. Is that a Roger?
Well, actually, it goes about 1 to 30. Over.
Okay, I would set it on a. What would that be? What would a third of that be? Or I am at this moment. I've got to figure that out. What would you say a third of your level of compression would be?
Well, it goes from 0. Actually, it goes from 0 to 20. So I would say a third of that would be about a 8, a 7. Actually, about a 7. So I just set it to an 8. I'm going to back it down to 7. That's a 7 right there. Alpha Charlie 4 King Whiskey.
Okay, that sounds good. Now, I would go to your ALC meter, and with the mic gain in hand, I would adjust the ALC meter to run mid-scale to 2/3. Just speak normally, and adjust your ALC for mid-scale to 2/3.
Okay, Roger, Roger. Alpha Charlie 4 Kilo Whiskey. Okay, needs to be a little more mic gain to that right there, according to what you're telling me. Alpha Charlie 4 Kilo Whiskey. Hello, test 1, 2, 3. 3, 2, 1. Okay, that's about 2/3 of the way on the scale. Over.
Okay, yes, starting to get pretty fat. Now, I want you to go to mic EQ and tell me what kind of internal EQ do you have, sir? Or are you using your outboard?
I'm using the internal EQ. It's a 10-band EQ. Over.
All right, what do you got outboard on your, do you have an EQ outboard?
Yeah, it does. It just has simple 3 knobs, high, mid, and low. Over.
Okay, is that engaged right now?
Yes, it is.
All right, I would put that mid-range in the flat position. Do you have like a push and cut on your tone controls?
Yeah, I have a knob. I can put it at 12 o'clock. That's 12 o'clock right there. Over.
Okay, that's in the middle, and you can boost that or cut that, Roger?
QSL.
Okay, so mid-range, I would put it flat, and then I would talk to me just for a minute about your antenna, Roger.
Sure. So I have several antennas. I have a fan dipole, 20, 40, 80 meters, up about 40 feet. And then I also have a 43-foot non-resonant antenna as well. Over.
Okay, on your top-end EQ, go to a mid-scale push. In other words, if it's like a in the mid position, what position is it right now?
It's in the 3 o'clock position right now.
Turn that all the way up, just out of curiosity. Your treble EQ all the way up.
Okay, Alpha Charlie 4 Kilo Whiskey. That's the treble EQ on the outboard all the way up.
Okay, now go to your bottom end, and what's your bottom EQ setting?
It's at about a 1 o'clock position.
Boost? It's a 1 o'clock boost?
I can turn it up.
No. Roll that 3 dB, or 3 dB off the bottom end.
Okay, right there. That's about 12 o'clock position. Alpha Charlie 4 Kilo Whiskey.
Okay, just a little bit more. Another notch less on the bottom end.
Okay, Alpha Charlie 4 Kilo Whiskey. AC4 KW. Yeah, I see it on my scope. It's getting flat now.
Roger, Roger. Okay, now tell me about your radio. Something that, okay, so we're full up on the treble boost, Roger?
The treble boost is full up at 12 o'clock, and the bass is at about 11 o'clock.
Okay, and tell me about your radio, sir, and what you like about your radio.
Oh, the Anon 200D is a fantastic radio because it gives me the ability to have so much more control over the filters, not filtering, the ability to utilize a 10-band equalizer, transmit and receive. It's just a really great radio, over.
Roger, Roger. Okay, take one more off the bottom end, and then we're going to go to the ALC and check our ALC level. You'll probably be low now because we've cut so much, EQ off the bottom end. So we'll need to cut one more notch off the bottom end, and then go to ALC and double check that level for mid-scale to 2/3.
Roger. Yeah, it's definitely low because it's cutting out my box. And Alpha Charlie 4 Kilo Whiskey, so we're located in Summerville, South Carolina, and going through our equipment to make sure that in case a hurricane does come this way, we can be well prepared, over.
Alrighty, and that was with that additional 1 dB cut on the bottom end?
QSL.
Okay, try just as a experiment, back off your mic. How close are you running your mic now? How close are you operating that mic?
I'm about 3 inches from the mic, over.
Okay, move that to about 6 inches, and then look at your ALC and adjust your ALC for mid-scale to 2/3 at 6 inches. Still trying to get a little more top end, so I'm actually applying inverse proximity effect. Proximity effect is when you get closer to a microphone, there is a bass buildup. So what I'm doing is in reverse. I'm pulling you a little bit more off mic, back from the mic to decrease your bottom end, but increase your mid-range and your top end, Roger.
Okay, QSL. So right now I'm about 6 inches from the mic. AC4KW, Alpha Charlie 4 Kilo Whiskey, over.
Roger, and you've realigned your ALC level?
Negative. My ALC is about 1/3 right now. I need to increase the gain on the mic input now to accommodate the ALC increase. So I'm doing that right now. I increased the mic line input. So now we're approximately 2/3, half scale to 2/3, over.
Alrighty, and so talk to me for about 10 seconds like normal at your new distance from the mic, and let me hear that.
So this is a really good service that you're offering to fellow hams, to have the patience and the time and the diligence to want to help people establish better audio quality as they're transmitting over amateur radio, over.
Oh, I forgot about your external stuff. I hadn't even thought about that. We've still got EQ to work on that, Roger.
Well, we were working on the external. All the stuff that we did was the external. You're talking about the internal 10-band. We haven't touched it yet, over.
Oh, that's right. That's right. Okay, just out of curiosity, on the 10-band, is that all flat or what? Or do you have that engaged or not?
No, the 10-band is engaged. It's not flat. It's definitely engaged, over.
Okay, can you flatten everything on the 10-band? And it is engaged, is that a Roger?
Yeah, QSL, the 10-band is engaged, over.
All right, just put all that stuff in the flat mode, or I tell you what, just take the 10-band out for the moment. Just take it out and let me hear you without the 10-band.
Okay, so the 10-band is out. No 10-band. This is just the outboard EQ, AC4KW.
Okay, just out of curiosity, roll about 4 more dB on the bottom end on your external. Let's see what happens.
Okay, that's 4 more dB on the bottom end. Alpha Charlie 4 Kilo Whiskey. How now, brown cow?
Oh, starting to like that. So we're full up on the top end EQ, mid-range is flat, and the bottom end is rolled pretty big, Roger?
Yeah, the bottom end is probably about 830 on the knob on the bottom end. Over.
All right, how much you got left on rollout on the bottom end?
I got about 2 notches to go. Over.
Go ahead and take those 2. We're just experimenting here, Roger.
Yeah, Roger, Roger. Alpha Charlie 4 Kilo Whiskey. So the bottom end on the lowest side frequency is totally flat. It's at 0, I guess. No, well, it's not 0. It's negative whatever.
Oh, Roger that, Roger that. I've got to come up with something for 10 more seconds so I can hear your audio. I think it's interesting. It's got a nice bottom end, nice mid range. The whole idea is balance. Mostly it's balance, but I like a little edge on the top for intelligibility. So I would say overall balance, and then just a little more top end. But I guess if we really wanted to get that, we would have to go to your 10 band, since we're full up on your outboard EQ top end, Roger?
Yeah, QSO. We've maxed out on the top end on the 10 band. Just so you know, I'm on an RE20 mic, so these mics are they're not the best for on the top end side. Over.
Oh, Roger, but they're decent. They're decent. So I would say go to that 10 band EQ. Engage that 10-band EQ, flatten everything except 3KC. Oh, and you're in the widest mode possible for your bandpass, Roger?
Well, no. I mean, I'm in a non-200, so I can go as wide as you want me to go. I can go 10K wide if you wanted me to.
Yeah, I didn't mean that. I meant you're 3, right? 100 to 3?
Oh, yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, because I didn't want you to be 2.4 or something, and we're sitting here trying to do something that we never could do with a 2.4, Roger?
Yeah, QSL. So let me put everything flat except for the 3K. I'll put it up, positive 2?
5. All right.
Okay.
All right, and talk to me for about 10 seconds. Now, as I understand it, you have engaged your 10 band, but all EQ pots are flat except for 3K, and that's about plus 4 or 5. Is that a Roger?
QSL.
All righty, and talk to me for about 10 seconds.
Okay, Alpha Charlie 4 Kilo Whiskey. My name is Angel, located in Somerville, South Carolina. Current temperature here today is 82, beautiful 82 degrees here in Somerville. Over.
All right, but two more clicks of top end. We may go back to where we were at 5, but put 2 more in for right now and talk to me.
Okay, that's 2 more clicks on the top end. I only have about 1 more click to go on that on the top end. Alpha Charlie 4 Kilo Whiskey, AC4KW, transmitting from Somerville, South Carolina.
Oh, Roger. Well, even I was getting a little Skywave cancellation on the top end, but you was even sounding good then. So that's what I'm talking about, is to have enough top end left when Mother Nature decides that she wants to phase cancel your signal to some degree, and she does that quite often. And that phase cancel always starts at the top end of the audio spectrum. The first thing to go when Mother Nature decides to phase cancel your signal is the syllabic range of your audio. So for that reason, I usually crank in more than what I would think would be necessary, just to be sure that there is some there when Mother Nature plays her games, Roger.
Well, that makes perfect sense, because with static crashes, you're right, those are all high frequencies. Over.
Roger. Well, this doesn't have much to do with static or that. It's everything that HF radio moves by skywave. Nothing hardly moves by ground wave. So it's all skywave, and not all of it is reflected at the same time. Some of your signal goes on out and is reflected just a little bit later. And when it bounces back and meets with the other that was reflected earlier, there is a phase angle difference, a phase time difference, and so then you have, because there's a phase difference, you start having cancellations, and like I say, that cancellation always starts at the top end of the audio spectrum and works its way down. Roger.
Okay, QSL. I'm still not at the 2/3 on my ALC. You think I need to inject? I can inject more into the preamplifier to bring the ALC just up. It's just barely tapping about -3, -4 dB. Over.
Oh yeah, whatever you have to do to get that. You don't have just an overall mic gain control that you could just bring up and push your ALC on up to mid-scale?
No, not on the SDR radio, but just give me a moment and I can get into the menu. I can make an adjustment.
Alrighty, because the secret there is the ALC, because what actually is happening there, the ALC is monitoring the output of your limiter, not the compressor, but the actual limiter in your radio. That's what the ALC is showing you, and that's why they usually say to be on the lesser side of mid-scale. But when you do that, you're pretty much running unprocessed. So a little bit more that you push that ALC up to mid-scale to 2/3, that is the limiter working, and that's where the magic happens, the fattening of your audio signal. And most radios today, you can go mid-scale to 2/3, particularly, modern radios, you can go to mid-scale to 2/3, and what you're actually looking for is an increase in average percent of peak modulation. Not just peak modulation, but the average percent of peak modulation. And what you want to do there is to be about have a 3 dB dynamic range with an average peak modulation of between 80 and 85%. As compared to unprocessed audio signals, which have a 10 dB dynamic range and only a 30% average peak modulation. Roger?
A QSO on that. Okay, so now I've increased the audio, the mic gain just a little bit to accommodate the ALC. Over.
Roger. And where are we on the bottom cut on your external?
We're all the way backed out, all the way -15.
Okay, it's really close. I'm just hearing something right around 200 cycles. Oh, since we got that 10 band in there, you have a 200 cycle control in your 10 band?
A QSL?
Pull 3 back at 200 cycles. 3 clicks back at 200 cycles.
Okay, that's 3 clicks back on the 200 cycles. Alpha Charlie for Kilo Whiskey.
Ooh, like that. I like that. Tell me about the antenna that you want to build.
Well, I don't have enough money. Unfortunately, I don't have the funds to build what I want to build. What I want to build is a 40 meter directional is what I would love to build and put up, but unfortunately I neither have the space nor the funds to do that at this time. Over.
Roger. Well, think about a loop. The loop, mag loop is quite directional. Most people do use the mag loops in the receive mode. They tack on a 5 to whatever preamp right at the input off the coupling loop of the loop antenna. They'll put a little preamp there and run it on in, and it's unbelievable running it like that. Roger?
Oh yeah, QSL. I'm gonna have to look into that.
Yeah, I had all expectations of doing this loop in the transmit mode, and we designed it to run a kilowatt. That's why we used the 1-inch HELIAXE 10-foot loop, 32-foot diameter. But the more that I'm listening to it. I have conducted some tests between the mag loop and my inverted V dipole on actually the SDR is Milford. I use Milford SDR a lot, and AV test the two antennas, and I have seen them both do about the same. When I started with a 1 meter loop, and 1 meter is about 2 feet, 2.5 feet diameter, and I was running about minus 6 dB signal difference between my dipole and the loop, and I realized that I was I had just enough loop to get me in trouble as far as the gain. 1 meter just wasn't going to do it. So we did crank in probably the largest size I think that we could do on 40 fairly easily with 1-inch HELIAXE, and that was the 10-foot diameter loop. And so, like I say, on receive, that thing is just gangbusters. So anyway, let me be listening to you. I want to hear you nice for about 10 seconds before we wrap up.
Okay, very good. So, that's a great idea. That's a pretty big loop. Are you not concerned at all with the high voltages that at 1 kilowatt that a magnetic loop? How do you accommodate those high voltages? You must have one heck of a capacitor on that thing. Over.
Well, that's the point. I estimate that to need to be a 20 kVA. Right now, I'm just when I was testing it at the 100-watt level, and I was still finding little burn marks from here and there at the 100-watt level. So there are quite high circulating voltages. I think the right VariCap air VariCap that's going to have to go in that one for a kilowatt would have to be somewhere in the order of 20 kVA. There are other ways. I've seen some homebrew capacitors that I might try to make some of those. They're kind of ingenious, and they will take real high voltages without arcing. That's the thing. The one I've got in there now is a capacitor, a plate tuning capacitor. It's got about 1/4-inch spacing between the fins, and so that does well for 100 watts. But when you start a kilowatt, you're going to need wider spacings, like a 1/2 inch, maybe even bigger than that. Cause that is like where you do the coupling loop. That's the current part of the antenna. When you get to the other end where you have the plate tune, that's the voltage part. So you have to really have your stuff together down there, Roger.
Oh yeah. I've seen a lot of videos. I've seen a lot of guys running those magnetic loops, and the tremendous arcing that occurs when they use the wrong size capacitor. So it can turn real bad, real ugly, real fast. So how's it sound right there to you, sir?
I think you got it for right now. Go ahead and use it like that. See who salutes, and join us next Friday if you get a chance, and we'll compare notes, Roger.
Yeah, QSO. Okay, very good, sir. Appreciate it. Appreciate your time again. This is Alpha Charlie 4 Kilo Whiskey with KC9 Victor Charlie Victor, who's been very helpful, very patient with me, getting my audio set up with the RE20 microphone, the Anon 200 Delta, ACOM 2000A with the outboard Yamaha Mike Golf 10 X-ray uniform. Thanks again, sir. Appreciate it. 7-3.
Roger. And just you might have been a little hot on your ALC that last, so check that, and you want to, stay mid-scale to 2/3 right in that area, Roger.
Okay, QSL. Okay, we'll do it just that way. Thanks a lot, sir. Appreciate you.
Roger. And if you get a chance, join us next Friday, and we'll see what's been going on. This is Kilo Charlie 9 Victor, Kilo Victor. Name here is Jim, Juliet, India, Mike, and we are running the Qso-Vlog network. If you've got a radio, you want to check out the audio. We are recording now live till 5, and at that point, we will shift things up to YouTube in the next couple of days, and then put our recorded air check up there. So if you go to YouTube and do a call letter search for Kilo Charlie 9 Victor, Kilo Victor, that will take you to our Qso-Vlog page. We have about 700 Qso-Vlogs on the page now, not on one page, but in that on our Qso-Vlog pages. But when you go there, it should be on page 1. You'll be looking for My Group Aircheck 83019. Again, My Group Aircheck 83019. This is a KC9VKV.
KC9VKV, K3NIE, Norway, India, England.
Repeat the call sign again, please, sir.
Oh, Roger. Kilo 3, November,
Thank you.
India, Echo, A3NIE. We're transmitting from New York State, broadcasting from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Go.
Roger that. What's the name there?
Oh, Roger. Name here is Bob, B-O-B. We just happened to tune in on the end of your transmission there, and it sounded interesting there to be able to have a recording of the transmission here. Again, the name is Bob, B-O-B. Go ahead.
Roger, Bob. I hear a little distortion, and I'm not sure why. What radio are you running, sir?
Well, this would be the Electcraft with a 500 watt solid state amplifier. We are running remotely here, remote ham radio. We're sitting at our laptop here in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, and through the internet hooking up with a transmitter and antenna in Quaker, New York, along the Hudson River. Go ahead.
Well, there's a lot of push come to shove on that circuit, so I can't really be too critical about that. You are amazing the gods, Roger.
Well, it's after decades of living with antenna restrictions in either a community or in a condominium complex, we have gone to this, and it gives us the good feeling again of getting into low-band ham radio that we were in decades ago, and so we're able to enjoy it, albeit I do miss the twirly dials and the just having that rig sitting in front of you, but this suffices and we enjoy it. So if you can fill me in just a little bit more on what you do there. I copied down do you know what, I missed the website to check, and you said here to check Aircheck for August 30, 19. But if you can fill me in just a little bit more, it would be greatly appreciated. Go ahead.
Roger that. Well, we are recording. We record from 3:30 till 5, and then post it up on YouTube. And if you go to YouTube and do a call letter search for Kilo Charlie 9 Victor Kilo Victor, that will take you to our Qso-Vlog page, and on that page you'll be looking for a Qso-Vlog entitled My Group Aircheck 83019, which is today's date. My Group Aircheck 83019, and we usually post the full hour and a half first, and then as time goes by we edit out some sections and post them separately. But the first thing to get posted is the full Qso-Vlog. Roger.
Roger here, and I missed your name up there again. Go ahead.
Roger. Name here is Jim, Juliet, India, Mike, and we are located near Louisville, Kentucky. We are just across the Ohio River from Louisville. Roger.
Hi, Jim. Really good. Appreciate all the information. And did you say that this will be up there on YouTube in about what time? what's the duration there before I can check it? Go ahead.
We usually say we'll have it posted within a couple of days. A lot of time it's sooner than that, but we do say within a couple of days. Roger.
Okay, Jim, we're writing all this down and look forward to seeing what this is all about. This is a very nice service, something that will be a first for me. I guess I've heard myself sideband, but I don't think it's ever been a recording. So thank you. Thank you for this service. Well, we'll let you maybe gather some more transmissions and move on. Thank you very much for giving us a try here in a couple days. There, Jim. Okay, on your QTH, Louisville, across the river, I think you said from Louisville. And we know just about where that is, having drove across the U.S. in different routes over the years. 73s to you, and thank you again for a very good QSO. So KC9, VKV, this is K3NIE, transmitting from Quaker, New York State, and broadcasting here in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. So long, Jim.
Roger, Bob, before you go off, I'm interested in your remote operation there. You're using, I'm assuming, a computer. Could you tell me how your mic, what mic you're using, and how does it tie into your computer?
Roger, Jim. Sure, I'd be glad to. I'm actually checking into a website called remotehamradio.com. All one word, remotehamradio.com. And I pay $99 a year for use of stations. Let's see, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, maybe 10 stations throughout. Actually, 5 of them on the East Coast. One in Colorado, a couple in California, and several others. The max power I can use is 500 watts on particular stations, and I pay per minute for use. I'm on the Flex radio right now, which is great in Quaker, New York station that they have. And I pay I think it's 39 cents a minute. I don't have that scroll properly yet. But too much volume. I'm very pleased with it. It took me a little bit of time to get a little bit efficient with the way I click what they call the remote console, and I'm holding my finger on the mouse on the push-to-talk button there, Jim. And I've been very pleased with it, really. As I say, I've been able to get back into good old ham radio. The stations are amazing. Good antennas, 85-foot Yagis rotator. I can control the rotator from here. Now, Jim, if I wanted to go with the big guns, I pay $1,000 a year, and I get the big guns, they call them. I get 5 stack antennas and 1,500 watts. I haven't jumped that far yet. I'm enjoying what I'm doing for now. Maybe after I get my feet wet a little bit more, and I get a Christmas present or something, I may try for it either. Anyhow, Jim, that's the lowdown. K3NIE.
Roger, Bob. Okay, I would suggest a couple of things to clean up your audio. First off, I would be sure and get a windscreen for your microphone. You definitely need a foam windscreen for that mic to cut out all the mouth transients and improve your articulation. A lot of times when we work mics, particularly in the field when we're hanging by or whatever, we don't think about those things, but you should use a foam windscreen screen on that microphone to cut down a bunch of mouth noises and pops and whatnot. And that's very serious because some of those articulations, the unwanted articulations, can be as loud as the actual words you're speaking. So in effect, you are QRMing yourself by generating mouth noises that are not words, if you know what I mean, Roger?
Roger, very good. I actually I've got a Radio Sport Boom headset here. I do have a little foam ball on it. But you're saying maybe to go with something a little bit more substantial than I guess, Jim. Go ahead. And I moved it a little further away from my mouth. Go ahead.
Yes, that is an option. A little bit further away, you definitely want to not work those tight, unless there are some mics that are better than others as far as those boom mics with those windscreens. But I've seen a lot of them kind of work the boom mic kind of off to the side as opposed to directly in front of the mouth. But then you need to go and consult with your modulation level, because you might not be quite having the amplitude level when you're working back off that mic a little bit, Roger.
Okay, very good. Well, I do appreciate it, because I would certainly want to have a good clear. I can see the amplitude here. I'm sort of jumping up to -9 dB, etc. Seems to be enough to drive the amplifier. Do you think a little better quality sponge here on the mic would help?
Well, I'm seeing a hump at about 200 cycles, 250 cycles. If you could get rid of that, or if you pull that down, that would help your intelligibility and balance your audio a lot better, Roger. About 250 cycles. Do you have EQ control over your remote device?
Good question. I do not know. I don't see it here on the screen, but I will check into that. I will check into it. Thanks, Jim. Thank you very much, and I look forward to hearing it. You have this whole QSO, I guess?
Roger. I think that would help there, and like I say, the windscreen would be the foam windscreen would be the main thing that really would clean up your audio and make it a lot more precise. And then if you do have EQ control, I would try to crank in some of the EQ up, in the upper end to give you a little syllabic articulation, which would really help the understandability of your audio. Look at that mid-range not mid-range, but the lower frequency about 200 to 250 cycles. I would pull that back about maybe 3-4 dB, and then I would try to give me some top-end articulation up around 3.5K, maybe 4 or 5 dB up in that area, and that would really help out making your audio a lot more articulated, Roger.
Okay, very good. And
all right, Bob, I think our conditions are about run out. Let me say three's up that way. Enjoyed it. And like I say, if you get a chance, drop by YouTube and do a call letter search for Kilo Charlie 9 Victor Kilo Victor. And that will take you to our Qso-Vlog page. And you'll be looking for my group Aircheck 83019. So we'll say threes for now, Bob, and you have a real good weekend. And if you get a chance, join us next Friday. This is KC9VKV and the Qso-Vlog network. If you've got a radio you want to check out, give us a shout. We are recording now till 5.
To be driving the transmitter here pretty well. A bar graph here, even though there's probably a little latency involved. I am sitting at a laptop and seeing what's going on here, but I can't hear myself. Thanks again, Jim. Really, this has been very interesting, and I do appreciate it. I don't think I have any control on the EQ. Again, I'll do some further checking. So 73, and have a good day, and again, thanks for your service. KC9VKV, K3NIE, transmitting from Quaker, New York, broadcasting here in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Have a great holiday weekend.
Roger, Bob. You did fade out, and I think we doubled over part of that. But anyway, threes to you, sir. I enjoyed it, and hopefully you'll get a chance to check out your audio on YouTube within the next couple of days, and you'll be able to hear your audio, and you'll understand what I was saying about the windscreen and all that stuff. Threes, Bob, and have yourself a real good weekend. This is KC9VKV and the Qso-Vlog network.
Sierra Hotel.
Sierra Hotel Station, come back with a call sign again.
November 5, Sierra Hotel.
Roger. What's the name there, sir?
Say again?
What's the name there?
Yeah, Jim, name here is HT. That's two initials, Hotel Tango, over.
Roger, HT, and where are you located, sir?
Yeah, we're in the north state of Arkansas.
In Arkansas, all right. And what radio are you running?
This is a 15-year-old Yaesu FT-847.
FT-847, is that a Roger?
Roger. It's pretty good radio. It does a lot. Of course, it's not quite as sophisticated as what they have today, over.
All right. I'm on my loop antenna. We're testing out a 10-foot mag loop antenna. I've got a deceased rotor on it, but I do have it Armstronged towards New York. So, theoretically, mag loop should be as hot off the back as off the front. But I'm going to try to go to my my dipole antenna. Why don't you give me about 10 seconds and tell me about your antenna situation, Roger?
Roger. The antenna here is it's basically an NBIS antenna. It's about 400 feet of wire that runs around the property, and it's only about 6 feet off the ground, over.
Roger. So I did switch over to my inverted V dipole antenna, and you're about 5 dB hotter than what you were on my mag loop. So that is interesting. How many feet of wire is that?
It's calculated at 410 feet of wire, and when you changed antennas, you went to 20 dB over M9 on this altimeter, over.
Okay, now I just changed my receive antenna. My transmit antenna is still my inverted V. Roger.
Okay, man, you're really booming in here in northwest Arkansas. I've heard you a few times with dealing with the guys on the radios and the microphones and that type of thing, and I just want to get you in my logbook. You always sound so good, over.
Roger. Well, the call sign is Kilo Charlie 9, Victor Kilo Victor, and we are located near Louisville, Kentucky. We're just on the other side of the Ohio River at Louisville. I can see downtown Louisville from here. It's about 3 miles away. So we use Louisville as a location reference point. And we do run the Qso-Vlog network between 3:30 and 5 on Friday afternoons, and we record full time from 3:30 till 5. And along the way, if folks need a little tune-up in their audio for the transmitter, we assist there too. Roger.
Roger. Yeah, got that solid copy. Well, we don't have as far as adjustment for audio. We can adjust the carrier insertion points on this radio.
And we have, of course, we can control the mic input. This particular mic is it's a condenser mic, and it's not a very expensive one. It has a frequency response of about 100 to 1600 kC over.
Oh, yes. You're talking electret condenser mic, is that a Roger?
Roger. The regular radio has a dynamic mic that came with it, and actually it has two settings, and I got good reports of it. It's just that this desk mic is a little easier to use, over.
Oh, yes. Electret condenser mic is just a beautiful thing, and yours is just great. It has a nice syllabic range, which really helps articulation. Come back and tell me about your radio just for a minute, about 10 seconds.
Well, the FT-847, of course, is the Yaesu all-mode transceiver. It has, what it does have that's unusual is the satellite capabilities on it, and that's one of the reasons I bought it was for tracking satellites, and I never got into that very heavy. And it's a fairly good radio. It has a digital filter, digital notch, all kinds of features that, memories and that kind of stuff. I just like it, over.
Roger. Well, I've listened to your audio, and you could use a little fattening if you would be interested. We usually recommend starting with the compressor, and just engage the compressor at about a 3. Nothing big time. You'll never hear it working. That's the thing. You don't want to hear a compressor working. So we just recommend putting the compressor in line at about a 3. And then going to our ALC meter with mic gain in hand, and adjust your mic gain to where your ALC meter is deflecting mid-scale to 2/3. Roger?
Okay, Roger. I'll have to look into that compressor. I don't think the radio is equipped with it. It must be a standalone device, over.
Roger, I would think that your radio would have a compressor in it. Look in your book, and it would show it. And, I would suggest just take some notes there. Inline your compressor with about a 3. And then important to go to your ALC meter and adjust your mic gain until your ALC meter is deflecting mid-scale to 2/3. We're just speaking normally, naturally. Run your when you're utilizing that electret condenser microphone, I would be sure that it had a foam windscreen. Definitely need a foam windscreen. I suggest that for all mics. It just cuts out all the stuff that you don't want to send. You don't want to QRM yourself by generating a bunch of mouth noise that just competes for the words. So a foam windscreen is just an ideal thing, particularly for condenser microphones. I would then work that microphone at about 2 inches, and then check your ALC from mid-scale to 2/3. Roger?
Okay, Jim, got that. Got the notes down there. I'll try to adhere to that. It looks like my ALC might be, my mic gain might be a little bit too high. Turn it back right there. But I'll look into that. I'll look into it. It has a processor, a speech processor with it. So I guess I'm going to have to get the manual out and read it once in a while. Over.
Roger. Well, I think the speech processor is the compressor. I think you'll find that the speech processor is the compressor. Roger?
Yeah, okay. I wondered about that. I don't use it much. It seems like that the only time they want you to use that processor is if you're trying to break a pileup or something in DX and it sharpens your signal. But I'll have to read into that, because if it affects normal audio on day-to-day conversation, that's very important, over.
Oh, it does, and that's why we recommend just running a 3. It's a token amount, but it's the beginning of the foundation for the fattening of the audio. Anytime that you hear anytime you hear a compressor working, that guy's running too much compression, because you want you want to use a great deal of finesse in setting up your audio. I mean, anybody can turn the compressor up to 10 and sound like Luigi working New Mexico on a bad Saturday afternoon, you know. But you want to be very tranquil about your audio. You want fat audio, but very unnoticeably processed. Although the processing is happening, you don't want to sound like it's happening. And that's why we suggest a 3 out of 10 on the compressor, and then to run your ALC mid-scale to 2/3. Roger?
Oh, okay, Jim, I got that. I got the note down there. Do you have any comments on the radio carrier insertion point, which seems to affect treble and bass as well?
Roger, now you're running that electret condenser mic, so you do have nice frequency response. And so if you just get a windscreen on that microphone for sure, work it about 2 inches away, you should have a bodacious audio sound.
Okay, Jim, thanks very much. Well, I don't know if I want bodacious. I just want people to understand me. Well, listen, I'm not going to tie you up. I got a lot of information from you here I'm going to have to investigate. I definitely appreciate your input on this, and I'll turn you loose. My goodness, there's got to be others out there interested in their audio sound. KC9VKV, this is November 5 Sierra Hotel, Northwest Arkansas, over.
Roger, and what was the name again?
HT, Hotel Tango.
That's right, HT. Okay, sir, 3s to you, and have a good weekend. If you get a chance, join us next Friday, and we'll compare notes, see what you've been up to. 3s. This is KC9VKV. We're real close to becoming a pumpkin. If you've got a radio you want to check out quickly, this is KC9VKV. Okay, I just switched back over to my loop antenna station calling. Repeat again, please.
Kilo Bravo Zero Charlie Hotel.
Kilo Charlie 0 Bravo Hotel. Is that a Roger?
Negative. King Baker KB0CH Charlie Hotel.
I got you there. And what's the name, sir?
The name here, Jim, is Wayne. Minnesota, back to you.
Roger, Roger. What radio are you running, sir?
I'm running a 7600 Icon 7600.
Oh, you have my radio, sir.
I like my radio. I'm not sure what it sounds like because I'm pretty newbie at it, back to you.
Well, you've got a great start on it. Now, I have a setup for that. Again, engage your compressor at about a 3. At a 3 out of 10, engage that compressor. Look at your ALC and adjust your ALC meter with your mic gain to where you're running mid-scale to 2/3 on your ALC meter. And then, can you do that? Are you that familiar with your radio?
Roger. I had it compression at 4. I was running at 6. I turned it down to 4 when I heard you talking a little bit about it. So I turned it down to 4. Now it's at 3. And ALC's maybe almost about 8 on the meter, on my ALC meter. So it's a little over 2/3, I think.
Roger that. Now, do you know where your tone control is?
Not for sure, no. I've had it open, but I'm not sure how you even get there.
Okay, it's menu, system, transmit, sideband, tone.
I'm not sure how to get there, Jim. I really appreciate you taking the call anyway. Back to you.
Okay, tell you what, hit, what is that, peak or, 7610, you have a button on the front called Quick, Roger?
I'm not sure about that. I don't see it.
Should be, I think, on the left-hand side, top or middle. It's called Quick.
I don't see it, Jim, but I appreciate it.
All righty. I'll tell you what, if you get a chance to join us next Friday, find out where Quick is, because we want to use Quick to get to Drive. Drive is a unique control for the 7610. There's no other radio that has a drive control. So find out where your Quick button is on the front of your 7610, and that will take you to Drive. And we're going to make some adjustments on the Drive, and we also make adjustments on your EQ. Roger.
Roger. You have the radio rock, though. It's the 7600. The old. Not the 7610, it's just a 00.
I think the 7610 is just a totally different radio, Roger.
Yeah, Roger on that. But yeah, it's good. I'll try to catch you next week, maybe.
Roger. Sounds good. Well, we're close. That 7610, on the Drive, what the Drive is, it's a further audio cruncher. It's a really unique device. Usually they run it at about 50, 55. I usually take that up to 60, 65, but I want to listen to it because it's a very unique device. It's a very neat cruncher, audio cruncher. So a 7300 can easily tune to a 3 dB dynamic range, which is 80 to 85% average peak modulation. The 7610 with the drive control can do a little bit better than that by turning that drive up, but I would need to listen to that to tell you exactly where, because you can actually take that drive control to where you have a half a dB of audio dynamic range, which is just absurd. I mean, my modulation meter, as I'm looking at your signal, when somebody would take the drive all the way up to 100, instead of my meter bouncing around, it just is flat at 0. It goes from minus 0.5 to 0 back and forth. That's the extent of it, because the audio is so fat. So I don't suggest running it anywhere near that. Maybe a 55 max. Roger.
Roger on that, Jim. This radio is the Icon 7600. So this probably doesn't have that, but I'm glad this sounds pretty close. So. And I'm running an Icon SM50 mic, desk mic. This is what's operating position, sir, is just a dipole and running barefoot. Back to you.
Oh, Roger, yes, that's a great mic. So you're running a what radio?
7600, 7600.
Oh, Roger, that's my mistake. I thought you said 7610. That's my error. You don't have a quick button, and you don't have a drive. Roger?
Yeah, Roger. I didn't think so, that's good to know. It's one of the new features you got if you end up investing in a newer radio. I debated between the two, but I took the 7600 because I knew they were a pretty good radio, and then the 7610 was sort of 7300 was still pretty brand new when I bought this one.
Oh, exactly. And what's the name there one more time?
The name here is Wayne. Wayne, Whiskey Alpha Yankee, November Echo.
And what was your call sign again?
KB0CH, King Baker 0, Charlie Hotel.
Roger, Wayne. Well, listen, I really enjoyed it, and I'm glad you got a chance to check in. You have a real good weekend. If you get a chance, check back with us next Friday. We have been recording from 3:30 till 5:05. I have been a pumpkin for the last 5 minutes. I'll say three's tea. And we'll post this up on YouTube in the next couple of days. So if you go to YouTube and do a call letter search for Kilo Charlie 9, Victor Kilo Victor, that will take you to our Qso-Vlog page. We have about 700 Qsos in our Qso-Vlog page now, but you'll be looking for a specific one called My Group Aircheck 8 83019. My group Aircheck 83019. And with that, we'll say threes all. We've enjoyed it this afternoon and hope to see you next Friday at 3:30 on this frequency, 7188. Until then, threes all. We'll catch you later. This is KC9VKV Clear.